Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back, dear students. We have a lot of interesting details to read about in our new lesson, which is going to be the reading lesson, inshallah. So we are still in our unit, which is Unit 3. Before we start our reading, we are just going to revise what we took till now and what will they think of next. We studied consonant clusters. Now, consonant clusters here, you can see that there are different examples. We can say, for example, straight, scary, or two letters like snake. We have also like train, cloud. We have skate. We have also smock or plug. Now, these were all consonant clusters that we practice pronouncing, and you may continue pronouncing throughout your studying and also when you are talking in any place English. Now we have the other part, which is the vocabulary. Now we have the vocabulary, page number 39. We had the meanings and also the vocabulary. We matched between them. We have here chain, which is a group of businesses owned by the same company. Commonplace, which is frequent or usual. Estimated, which is given an approximate cost. Lucrative, which is, we have here, producing a lot of money. Orbit, which is a path in space followed by a planet, moon, or spacecraft. We have rigorous, which is going to be, of course we have the orbit B, and rigorous is going to be A, which is extremely difficult. We have steep, which is D, expensive, leading us to simulate, which is obviously imitate. Now these are the words that we passed by. Now we have memorable vocabulary. What do I mean by memorable vocabulary? Now we applied together the idea of using the vocabulary together in the same content so you do not forget. So I want you to meet someone with me. We have someone that we're going to meet together. We have here this man, which is Mr. Mooney. Now I want you to meet Mr. Mooney here, and we're going to see what does he do. We have here Mr. Mooney. He loves space so much that he spends most of his time there. In fact, he orbits the Earth like the moon. Everybody knows that Mr. Mooney is a space lover. He has become, or it has, become a commonplace. He always says, I need more space. In the future, he plans to build tourism projects that are actually steep. But he doesn't mind. He is a billionaire and wants to invest in space. Living in space for Mr. Mooney was not rigorous-free. He had a lot of survival training. Mr. Mooney is planning to launch a space shuttle chain that goes on tours in space. He is simulating the idea of famous tour companies on Earth and thinks it will be very lucrative. In his opinion, the estimated profits will be over $1 million every day. Now, if you notice that I use the vocabulary here and something that I will remember and I can relate together. Now, Mr. Mooney hopes to be the best in space tourism. I'm going to stop here and just think about the idea of space tourism here. We said that he had the idea of tourists going to space on tours. Now, just imagine that you go to space as like you are going to any country or any place, and you are a tourist in this place. What are the different things that you may do, and what are the activities that may happen in space? Now we're going to move on here and think about what is space tourism. Now just visualize with me and just think about the opportunity of space tourism. If you had the chance to go to space, would you go? Now think about it while we talk about the idea. And do you think space tourism will be common? So we do now know that there are lots of things that happen and changes that are happening every day, and people are coming up with different ideas. actually our title, what will they think of next, gives us the possibility that anything may happen. So do you think that tourists will go to space? And what will they do in space? This is something that we're going to read about. So we have here, you are going to visualize, as we've mentioned, and what do you think it would be like? Just put it in mind and get ready for our reading, which is on pages 40 and 41. So we're going to get ready. We have here, if you could go into space, would you? And why or why not? So this is a question that we have in the book. Would you go to space? If you say yes, why? And if you say no, why not? Just discuss with your classmates and think about what are your reasons. Would you be excited? Would you be scared? Is it something new that you would be look forward to do? Or would you just prefer staying on Earth? Now just think about the different topics, and we're going to move on with our lesson. We have the objectives. We have, first of all, to list some future plans for space tourism. We have number 2, to answer questions. Number 3, to scan for information and words. And number 4, to give predictions based on information. So we have interesting details that we're going to read. First of all, we have the title. What is the title of our reading passage? Now together we can read here, An Out of This World Vacation. Actually, the title itself is something that is unusual. What does out of this world mean? Do you know what does it exactly mean, or have you ever heard it before? So when we say that we have something that is out of this world, it means literally outside our world, which is in outer space. And it can have another meaning here, that's something extraordinarily exciting and great. So when something is great and you feel that it's something that is exciting, you can say that it is out of this world. Now we do have questions. Do you know, does space tourism exist now? Have you ever heard about people who went to space just for fun, or did they just go as tourists? Now, if you have, you can recall. And the second question, will space tourism become common in the future, in the author's opinion? Now, this is something that we're going to put in mind here. At the very end, the author who wrote the reading passage here, did or is he convinced that it will happen or not? So we're going to move on with our questions. What will space tourists do for fun? So I asked you, what are the different activities that tourists may do in space? We're going to think, what are they going to do? And we're going to read what are the things or activities that the author himself mentioned. Now we have the paragraphs. They are divided, and I have the questions ready for you here. Now we're going to just read the questions together and look for the answers. We're going to scan quickly for the answers. Now we have the first question. What are people doing with space tourism technology? And we have the second question. The synonym of expecting is? So here, first of all, you can see that I have in the blue color the vocabulary that we studied in our last lesson. So now we can relate and we can go through content, the words, just to revise what their meanings. Now I'm going to look for the first question. What are people doing with space tourism technology? You can scan quickly and you can find that we have here, I want the answer, what are people doing? Here we have the answer, they are investing and developing space tourism in space tourism technology. And for the synonym of expecting, we can say here that the meaning is predicting. Do you remember we talked about predictions from the first lesson in the unit? We have they imagine a future in which space travel will have become a reality for millions of ordinary people. So if it is not something commonplace now at the moment, it may be a reality in the future. Now we have here the question. Of course, we have the word rigorous in our vocabulary. The question is, who is space tourism possible for at the moment? So there are people that may go at the present time, but who are they? So the question is, who is space tourism possible for at the moment? And we have another question, which is a true or false. We have here the first tourist in space paid $2 million. So we're going to scan here and see that we have here from the very beginning of the part or the paragraph. Now we can see that space tourism is only a possibility for the incredibly wealthy. So you must be very wealthy now at the present time to go to space. How about the true or false? We can see that we have here now the American multimillionaire Dennis Tito paid $20 million to become the first space tourist. Now, so the true or false was 2 million. Actually, it is 20 million. So we have here, this is going to be, of course, false. Moving on, we have also questions. We have 2 nationalities mentioned. What are the nationalities that are mentioned here in the paragraph? You can see that we have here Russian and also American. And how long did Tito stay aboard the National Space Station? So again, let me just read this again for you. How long did Tito stay aboard the International Space Station? So we can see here that we have here he stayed or spent 7 days aboard the International Space Station. Moving on. Now this is something interesting to know. We have here other millionaire space tourists of different nationalities have gone into space. So just to note here, it's not just about this American millionaire. Also, there are other space tourists that have gone. Our third part, we have the question, why do companies want lower launch costs? So we know now it is something that is steep or expensive, and companies want lower launch costs. This is something interesting. Why? We want to look also for the antonym of disposable. We want also the price of the Japanese rocket society's target. And there are currencies mentioned. Now, I read the questions with you from the very beginning. So when we scan, we can find the answers together. So starting, let's just do it together. We have here, why do companies want to lower launch costs? We can see that we have here, their goal is to lower launch costs enough to make it possible for the average person to buy a ticket to space. Now, this is something exciting, that they want even average people, not the wealthy, even the average people may have the chance to go to space. The antonym of disposable is reusable, if you have just picked it out or highlighted. Also, if I'm looking for the price of the Japanese rocket, you can just look for the Japanese rocket, and you can find here that it is, we have here, launch. This is one of the words that we have in our lesson. And we have here vehicles. Yes. Now, we have here, we can see that it is 1 million yen as for the price for the society's target. Currencies mentioned. Now we have currencies, not just countries. There is a currency that is mentioned. You can see that we have here dollars, and also we have here the yen. So here you can see that there are interesting words to learn. Now we do have our vocabulary word, which is lucrative, and we have launch, we have vehicles. Now all of these words, they are related to space. Now we have in this part, we have true or false. Virgin Galactic is struggling to book its first year of flights. Now when you see here that we have the company, Virgin Galactic, did they face difficulty to book their flights? Now we can see that we have here the first year of flights has already been booked, which means the total opposite. So the answer is going to be false. Then we have a question, has Lisa wanted to go to space for a long time? Now, we are going to pass by other types of information, but we have here just to look for the name of Lisa here. Now, we can see that she is one of the future passengers. Now, Lisa, did she want to go to space for a long time? Scan with me, and we're going to look for the answer. We can see that we have here that by 2022 that there were different, of course, this information is related to the Virgin Galactic. And then after that, we have here Lisa, which was the mother of 3. Now, she was asked why she was prepared to spend so much money on galactic flight. She said that she was 58 years. So she was actually old in age, and she had wanted or been dreaming to go to space for at least 45 years. Now, we scanned and highlighted the information that we discussed and talked about in our questions. We are going to move on. We have here. Now, in this part, we have 2 parts which are in true or false. We have here a Japanese construction company has plans to build a hotel in space. Now, can you see anything about a Japanese construction company planning for a hotel, which is actually exciting to know? Just imagine that there is a hotel in space. And the other part, the entire hotel will experience 0 gravity. Now, we know that there is no gravity in space, but the whole hotel, will it experience the same thing? So you can find the answers just to scan for a Japanese construction company. We can see that, yes, there is an idea or detailed plans for a space hotel concept. And the other part, we can see that also we have here. Yes, now there will be enough force to simulate Earth's gravity. It is estimated that such a space hotel would cost $6 to $12 billion. And yes, the hotel will slowly spin in order to produce something to simulate the gravity. Now, we have the first one is true and the other point is false. Now, how much is the estimated cost to build a space hotel? We can see that the estimated cost is going to be about, of course, we have here, you can just scan and see that there is something mentioned. We have here about 6 years to build. And also the second part, why will the hotel spin slowly? We have here the hotel will spin slowly to simulate gravity, as we mentioned before. Now we have the new part, the name of a famous hotel chain. Now, there is a famous hotel chain that we all know. We have here, it is, yes, we have Hilton. And what will the hotel have? Also, we want to search for the synonym of energy. Now, you can see that we have chain, which is in our vocab. So the plan calls for a 5,000 room complex with a beach, a working farm, and a medical center, and even a school. And the synonym of energy, just to scan the part which is actually short, just look with me for the word, and you will find that it is, yes, power. Moving on. Now, true or false? The hotel, Hilton Hotel chain plans to power a moon hotel with wind power. Now, you can see that we have here about something about wind power, and we have here at the very end, yes, 2 huge solar panels will generate the power, which means that this part is going to be false. So here, there is no wind power in space, so we are going to just use solar panels to generate. And the Hilton Hotels is working on the moon hotel with NASA. So just look for something, and you can find at the very end, if you can find the word or you saw the word NASA, you can say that we have here Hilton is working on this project with experts at NASA, meaning that this is true. Now, moving on, we have the next part. Tourist activities in space include what? Now, look for the activities. Now, the first thing that I mentioned, to just imagine and visualize what are the different activities that tourists may do in space. Also, you are going to look for a sport. And you are going to answer the question, what could zero gravity provide? Now we're going to look for our answers here. Just see that we have here different parts in our paragraph talking about tourist activities. Now, to begin with, most will probably want to spend some time simply enjoying the incredible sight of Earth from space. Also, they will spend some time gazing at the amazingly bright stars and will take a spacewalk or two. They are likely to spend hours amusing themselves floating and doing acrobatics in the zero gravity of space. And we have including swimming in a zero gravity swimming pool in which people move through a floating mass of water. And actually you can see also that swimming is the sport that we are looking for. Now, answering the last question, what could zero gravity provide? We see that we have here this gravity could provide endless recreational opportunities. Now, there are amazing facts here and interesting things to know about gravity, about the planned activities that tourists may do in space. Now we are coming to the end of our passage. We have, with so much research, energy, and money being poured into space tourism, it is clear that it is a matter of when rather than if space tourism will become a reality. So we have our last question, which is, what is the real matter about space tourism? So when do you think that these things will happen? What do they need? If there is money, and we have here the opportunities and the energy and the research, so only it is a matter of time. It is a matter of when will these things happen. Now we have reached the very end of our reading passage. Just to write here in a graph the details that we talked about. You can see that, of course, we have here, it is about investing and developing. Now they are thinking about plans and what they can do as businesses in space. We have here, this is divided into a lucrative industry or in the cost, which is for wealthy people at the moment. And they are planning for lower launch costs. The second part is about building hotels, as we mentioned when we talked about the Japanese company. And this hotel has also, the part of the hotels mentioned the Hilton project. And we come to the end, which is space tourist activities. So we have here these parts. Now you do have your homework, which is going to be to answer the true or false. Now rewrite the false statements to make them true, which is on page number 41. You're going to do it as homework, and we are going to follow up, inshallah, in our next lesson. So our outline of the day, we explored the idea of space tourism. We analyzed some details and we listed different activities that they can do in space. And at the very end, you are going to evaluate and you are going to answer the homework, and we're going to follow up, inshallah, in our next lesson, which is going to be the writing lesson. So be ready.